What's up, everybody? Today we're going to be showing you how to vertical jig some crappies. All you need is some crappie magnets like on screen, and then you just need some small jig heads. I like the ones that have the light wire hooks. I go 16th ounce. I got some Bombite jigs. I got all my stuff linked in the description. All right, so the first thing you got to do, get out on the water. You're going to try to find some mid-level water anywhere from 10 feet to 20 feet, depending on your lake. I'll give you an example. I This lake here, it gets to 32 feet. It's got everywhere in between in layers. So I'm trying to find that middle area. These are where these crappie are going to be, especially in the fall and in the summer. In the spring, they're going to be a little bit shallow. They're going to be spawning stuff like that. But we're trying to vertical jig. So we're going to find out where they are. You can do this with a fish finder. It will look like this on the screen right here. If you have a fish finder, some sonar, this is what you're looking for. These are crappie. You will catch these fish. If you don't have a fish finder, I always recommend you try to fish offshore, maybe drop down your lure, see how deep it is. When you bring it back up, you can use your pole to measure, as much as you retrieve or as much as you drop it. It's a great handy thing to do. I suggest, you try to find that middle range depth there. You can use apps like FishBrain. They have those topographic maps that show you how deep you are. They're relatively close. They're not 100% accurate, but it is a great tool to have. I use that all the time when I didn't have a fish finder. So the first thing you want to do once you've identified the fish, oh yeah, I do want to add, if you don't have a fish finder and you catch a crappie, 99 out of 100 times you're going to find more in that position. They school up. They're all hanging out together. They're like one big old family, except they have all their cousins, their uncles, their third cousins, that everyone's there. So if you catch one, you can catch 10, 20, 25. You can get a limit in that same spot usually. So if you sit there for about 15 minutes after you get one, you don't get bit again, I would suggest moving on. But if you're there and you catch one, I highly recommend fishing that area. So when it comes to vertical jigging, what do I do? How do I do it? What am I looking for? It's actually pretty simple. Once you've identified the location where the fish are, all you do is, like on screen, you just drop your jig in the water. You let your jig fall to the desired depth, where those fish are at. So in this instance, I'm in about 14 foot of water. They're hanging out from anywhere from the bottom to 10 feet. So I'm just trying to get in that zone. And then I let it stop and I just jig it real slow, real light, waiting to get that bite. Um, a lot of times, if you get a little bluegill, they'll peck it. You'll feel the bite, but the thing is, when you try to set the hook, you're not going to get anything on, and that's okay because that action of it falling with the lure, that's what draws in the crappie, and they eat up, so they're gonna bite it, eating up. So as you can see here, I hooked up, I set the hook, and I was able to reel this guy up, and look at the beautiful colors on that guy. It was a good little catch there, just by vertical jigging. So he was going in the bag to hang out later. So you can also, I like to call it like a cast vertical jig. You throw it out, you let it sink, and just kind of bounce it in that strike zone, just to try and find where those crappie are exactly. If you have a hard time, you're the cool thing is when you do this, you're gonna catch other fish too. Um, especially like bass. They love those crappie jigs. So I wanted to include everything that you go through. I wanted this to be as realistic as possible when you're out there trying to catch some crappie. Um, what you're gonna see, and you're gonna catch stuff like this. You're gonna see this completely normal. Don't be alarmed. Don't disengage in how you're doing it. This happens. That's just fishing, man. You can't catch just one species all the time. Other stuff are gonna bite, but I thought it was interesting. I got this little bass. He saw that crappie magnet. He was licking his jaw there. He was all hungry, and he thought he was gonna have a nice dinner, but Sorry, buddy. That's just the lure. But I wasn't looking for him, so he's gonna go home. But yeah, as you can see here, I had my lure dropped in the water, slightly jigging it. Lightly jigging it. And if you don't get bit right away, that's okay. It's okay. So I wasn't getting bit, so I dropped it a little bit deeper. I'm just watching my line. And what I'll do is, so my pole that I have is about 7 feet. So I usually have the jig all the way out to the bottom of my pole. So I know 7 feet of line's up. I drop it in the water, let it fall all the way down so that the line's tight, and then I will let out maybe a foot at a time. I just kind of ballpark measure with the tip of my rod. I let that fall, so I'm like, oh, drop another foot. Okay, now I'm at 8 feet. Drop another foot. Okay, now I'm at 9 feet. Drop another foot. Now I'm at 10 feet, and so on and so forth. And a lot of times I'll do that until I find that desired depth that they're at, that they're biting. Very important to try and keep that same depth because that's where they're eating. That's where you're gonna catch them at. And see here, I was able to get one on, and he shook me. Didn't have the best hook set. I think there was a lot of smaller guys, and sometimes you have to go through the smaller guys to get the big ones. That's just how it goes. That's the part of fishing. No, but see, I dropping it down, just kind of lightly jigging it. Just let that lure do its work. I got the crappie mag on. It's got those ridges on the plastic, so it gives a natural buoyancy. It's got the big-eyed bombite jig on there, so it looks like just a little bait fish chilling out. And those fish can't help but eat it. But yeah, as you can see here, I got another crappie there. Got him right in the top of the mouth, right where you want him. He came up, he swiped at her, he took it off, went down. He thought he had lunch, and I was able to set the hook and get him in, and landed. But that's really all it takes. Is kind of dropping it down. You got to be real slow with it. They're not going to bite instantly. Sometimes it takes 2, 3, 4 minutes. And once you get a bite, try to mimic the way you did it prior, so that you get another bite. So as you can see here, I just got bit by one. I remembered the depth. I was able to get it right to that depth right away. Did it the same exact way, and I instantly hooked up with another one. This is just repetition. This is experience. This is practice. You can do it too. It's not that hard. You're gonna go out. There are gonna be days where it's a struggle. That's normal. But once you get this down, you're gonna be able to catch these crappie that aren't spawning. And a lot of people, they go out, they catch crappie in the spring, they're shallow, they're active. It's really easy. It doesn't take a lot of skill in the spring. I mean, it still takes skill, don't get me wrong, but any person that's ever fished for crappie ever knows that in the spring is the best time to catch them because it is a lot more easy. As you move into the later months into fall, as in, it starts to get cold at night, they're gonna they're gonna really start slowing down their feeding. I mean, they're gonna feed. A lot of it's the time of day, but being able to find where they're at when they're not shallow and they're in that deeper water, that's the tough part. And then getting in front of them to present a lure in a way to get them to bite. And I feel like vertical jigging is one of those special ways to do it. Um, it's so right here, I'm just covering some water, trying to find where those crappie are that weren't showing up on my fish finder. I sometimes when they're in less than 10 feet, you might spook them going over. So, but yeah, like I ended up catching this pretty nice guy here. He got it good. But I gotta point out, it's how you present the bait. You want to look as natural as possible. You want it to be in front of their face as long as possible, and you're gonna get bit. But yeah, I mean, look at the colors on that guy. Just beautiful colors on him. These are great fish to eat. They're really a lot of fun. They can be challenging, and if you're an avid fisherman like myself, there's nothing more fulfilling than going out and being able to do something like this. Do something that the normal person who goes and fishes, what they can't or don't do. knowing that you have that skill that you can do that. Um, but yeah, even here, I'm pretty sure this is a little bluegill I caught, and you're gonna run into those when you're crappie fishing. So my advice to you, if you want to get out there and vertical jig some crappie, make sure you have ultralight tackle, make sure you got small jigs, make sure you have light line. I use 10-pound braid to a 4-pound monofilament leader. That way I don't get the line twist and stuff like that. It works better for me. I get better hookups. I get better sensitivity. But you got to find what's comfortable for you. Um, that's very important though. You always want to use a light or an ultra light rod and reel. I like about anywhere from the 6 foot to the 7 foot range. You want 1,000 size series reel. I do have all this stuff linked in the description. What I use to catch these fish every day. It's down there. Get something like that, and you'll be coming home with stuff like this. In the fall, just like me. I got a couple dinners worth here of crappie. And trust me, people aren't bragging about catching crappie this time of year. So thank you so much for watching. Appreciate all ya. I hope you learned something, and if you have any comments, go ahead and leave one. If you like this, smash the like button. And if you do enjoy this kind of content, hey, hit me up with a subscribe. I'd appreciate it. Until next time, you guys all take care. Later.